Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, students. If you remember, this was last slide of our last lecture, where we discussed molecular orbital diagram for nitro cell. In on this hand side, we have atomic orbitals of oxygen, and on left hand side we have atomic orbitals of nitrogen. So both the atoms contribute electrons from their s and p subshells. You remember, and you also are aware of the fact that oxygen has 2 electrons in 2s subshell and 4 electrons in 2p subshell. Similarly, nitrogen possesses 2 electrons in s subshell and 3 electrons in p subshell. Now these atomic orbitals, so on this side we have 4 atomic orbitals, on this side we have also 4 atomic orbitals, and logically we should have 8 molecular orbitals. So those orbitals which are lower in energy than parent atomic orbitals, they are generally called bonding molecular orbitals, and those which have higher energy than their parents, they are called anti-bonding molecular orbitals. So there are two types, there are two groups of orbitals. Four is bonding and four anti-bonding molecular orbitals. Now we have to place these electrons in bonding molecular orbitals. So we have four total electrons in s subshells of oxygen and nitrogens, and while placing these 4 electrons, we have to accommodate 2 electrons in lower energy level and 2 electrons in high energy level. Similarly, 4 electrons of oxygen and 3 electrons of nitrogen, we have to place them in their particular or concerned or respective molecular orbitals. So p orbital can make 3 bonds. One is sigma bond and two are pi bonds. And similarly, on the other hand side, the same number of orbitals, which are called as anti-bonding molecular orbitals, are afforded. So two orbitals or 2 bonds are pi star and one bond is sigma star. While placing 7 electrons in these bonding molecular orbitals, we are confident to, or we are sure we can straight away place 6 electrons in these orbitals on the basis of their increasing energy. So this uh, molecular orbital, bonding molecular orbital, has lowest energy among these three. So the first pair will be accommodated by this molecular orbital, and then the rest of the 4 electrons will be accommodated by two bonding molecular orbital, which are called pi bonds or pi orbitals. And then 1 electron is left. So 4 plus 3, we have to accommodate 7 electrons, and actually these orbitals have maximum capacity of 6 electrons. So we placed 6 electrons in these molecular orbitals and 1 electron is left, and definitely there is no empty electron in this region. The only orbital which is available for that unpaired electron is pi star orbital of nitrocell, and this pi star orbital will accommodate this unpaired electron. Now this picture clarifies us one fact, that nitrocell is not a neutral molecule, rather it is a radical, and this is one of the stable radical uh, which exists free in nature, and it does not react, or it is, at least this is inert or less reactive radical. Now on the basis of this unpaired electron, why the nitrocell does not occur as dimer just like other species? Because we have also we also know so many examples where unpaired electrons combine with each other to give dimers, or any other types of bonds which you have discussed, and you have a lot of I think knowledge. So in this case, since this unpaired electron is in anti-bonding molecular orbital, so whenever one nitrocell comes closer to another one, they have to share this half filled orbital which has one electron from one side and one electron from the other side. But the problem with these electrons is they are actually in high energy orbital, and these high energy orbitals are unable to combine with each other. Another fact is that if you look at the orientation of these orbitals, so orientation of orbital is not appropriate, although it seems that these orbitals can afford pi bond, but whenever sigma bond is present, so after sigma bond the molecule can make another bond, and that bond will be called as pi bond. So there are no examples where pi bond has been established prior to sigma bond. First we have to make, the molecule has to establish sigma bond and then pi bond. So pi bond is not first, then the sigma bond. So the orientation, the energy, because there are three criterias for overlapping of orbitals whenever they combine with each other. So orbitals should have comparable energy, they should have appropriate occupancy, and they should have appropriate orientation. So in this case, one of the criteria does not meet the required level, and therefore the dimer is either unstable or it does not exist as a dimer. Now going further in detail of this molecule, we have to diagrammatically show the orbitals that where these electrons reside or where these electrons are present. Now these orbitals are bonding molecular orbitals, and normally bonding orbitals are those the bonding molecular orbitals are those electron pairs are where the electron density lie between the bond on the bond axis, below the bond axis or above the bond axis or in between the two nuclei. And whenever the electron density is not in appropriate direction in three-dimensional space, so these orbitals are generally they are anti-bonding molecular orbital. Let's go further toward the pictorial representation of these orbitals. This is the orbital of nitrogen, and if you go a little bit back to the diagram, now, on the basis of these electrons, we have to explain the reactivity of nitrosyl molecule. Normally, in molecule, those electrons which have higher energy, they are sensitive toward reactivity, and electrons with higher energy will involve first during a chemical reaction, or they will be affected first during a chemical reactions. So this is the first electron which will get involved or which will participate in bonding first, followed by this pair of electrons. So these three electrons are most sensitive electrons in the molecule of nitrosyl. There is also another point that we have to locate or polarize these electrons, that where these electrons are polarized. So if you look at the figure, this orbital is closer to oxygen and this one is closer to nitrogen. It means this pair of electron is polarized on nitrogen, and this pair of electrons is polarized on oxygen. So whenever in bond formation, bonding or anti-bonding molecular orbital participate, so this orbital, this pair, which is also regarded as lone pair of electron, this is higher in energy than this one. Therefore the one which is occupied by the high energy orbital will get involved or will participate in bonding first. So this pair will be involved in bonding, and now we know that where this bond pair is polarized, so this bond pair is polarized on nitrogen. It means nitrosyl will get linked to the metal center or any other species through nitrogen, not through oxygen. Going further toward that unpaired electron, that where this unpaired electron is polarized or where it is located. So again, look at the similarity of the orbitals. If they are closer to nitrogen, it means the electron is polarized on nitrogen, and if they are closer to oxygen, then we can say that this electron will be polarized on oxygen. So look a little bit in with full concentration. So these pi 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 orbitals, yeah, pi bonding molecular orbitals, they are closer to oxygen, means they are polarized on oxygen, and that unpaired electron is polarized on nitrogen. So whenever nitrosyl gets involved in any sort of bonding where these